A boring, painfully average college professor gains popularity pretty much for the first time in his life when he starts showing up in the dreams of just random strangers. Sound cool? Because I'm here to talk about Dream Scenario from 2023. All right, guys, so this was a film that I was really wanting to see last year. I missed it when it was in theaters. It was, at least in my area, it was a pretty limited theatrical run. So I'd been waiting for the Blu-ray, release since I'd already, I'd already made up my mind I was going to buy this movie. Like I've said here many times before, I am an absolute, unapologetic A24 fanboy, and I'm a huge fan of Nick Cage. Huge. And I mean, put the two together, fucking sign me up all day. I'll call in sick. So I think it's more than fair to say, I mean, this was one of the most anticipated films for me of the last probably year or two. And now that I've finally seen it, it's okay. Not bad. Okay, I mean, pretty good, but not as good as I had hoped. Now, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, I realize that, but I'll just say that this is a Nick Cage film, and he is great here. By far the standout in my opinion, although everyone involved was really good. Okay, now I'll pull it back a little. So this was directed by Christopher Borgli, and I was previously completely unfamiliar with his work. That said, this is a director to look out for. He's directed a large handful of successful short films, and this is his second feature-length film. And this one, man, is definitely a great looking film. It's very colorful at times. It has a cool kind of grainy look. I really dig the aesthetics. I mean, it's got like kind of an art film look to it. I didn't see that coming, but I really appreciate it. And you have Nick Cage playing the lead, a guy named Paul. He's a tenured college professor, and he says so himself numerous times. He lives with his wife, Janet, played wonderfully by Julianne Nicholson. I absolutely loved her here. Paul and Janet have two teenage daughters, so Paul is a complete dork. I'll just get that out of the way. He's a smart guy, but unremarkable in most ways. He means well, I do believe, but he's awkward, he's neurotic, he's not exactly super well liked by most people. Everything I just said there, I can totally relate. So one night he's out with Janet, and they run into a woman that Paul dated like over 15 years ago. And she stops him to tell him that for the first time in many years, he had been on her mind. As uncomfortable as this is for Janet, as you can imagine, Paul is intrigued and maybe, looking for a little bit of an ego boost. And she tells Paul that he's been showing up in her dreams, even after not seeing or even thinking about him in many years. She tells him about a small blog that she has, and she asks if, they can meet up for coffee one day so she can talk about, writing up an article about these dreams. She says that not many people really follow her blog, and Paul doesn't really think too much of it. He was kind of hoping that maybe she just wanted to see him, which he tells her, and of course she finds totally hilarious because it's not the case at all. And after the article is up on the blog, hundreds of random people see Paul's picture, and these people have all had dreams of Paul, also, despite not ever having met him. And he is instantly excited about all this new attention. Even if he is kind of bummed out that, the dreams, all the dreams seem to portray him as, very unremarkable. He just kind of doesn't do anything, really. He's just there. But I mean, oh well, right? It's still attention, which is something that he's always kind of wanted. And he enjoys this attention for a while. A PR firm even comes to him wanting to work with him, although, what they want and what he wants are two very different things. And with this newfound fame, came unexpected difficulties that affected not only Paul, but his family. And before anything good could really, happen from this once-in-a-lifetime strange occurrence, the dreams people were having start to turn to nightmares, and Paul is soon vilified. Instead of the dreams having Paul do just nothing, they now, had Paul murdering people and, other just horrific acts. So he is now hated by everyone, a complete 180. His kids are picked on at school, and even Janet's career is affected. And honestly, his family is arguably getting the worst of it. And Paul refuses to make any efforts to, kind of ease things a bit. And he shows a side of himself that is, really very self-centered. I still hold on to the opinion that Paul is not a terrible person. Self-serving, neurotic, a bit selfish, yes. You know, he let a short-lived bout with fame go to his head, and had he remained successful, I believe he would have made just a ton of bad decisions. Now, I'm going to go back to Nick Cage's performance here because it's just great. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are times when Nick shows up for a paycheck. He doesn't truly want to be there. It's not a fulfilling role for him. I get it. We all have bills to pay. But then there are times when he, really does want a role and he takes it completely serious. Even like 40 years into his career. He still has passion for acting, and he's said so himself in interviews that I've read. He was made for this. This is what he does, and this is what he will always do. When he puts his heart into a role, he's as good as anyone out there. I think his performance here is excellent. Like with some other great performances, while watching this film at times, I almost forgot that, he was playing the character of Paul. This was not just a carbon copy of, one of his other characters from the past. Not at all. That said, I went into this kind of hoping for a performance like something that he did with, like Pig. And that was my mistake. That was an unfair expectation. And like I said at the beginning, I did like this. In fact, I recommend this film. I just didn't quite love it. But man, it's good for a number of reasons. My favorite aspects were the performances, like I said, from Nick Cage and Julianne Nicholson. And I also thought the script was very good, which was written by the director, Christopher Borg. So like I said, we need to pay attention to this guy. He's capable of great things, and I really want to see what he does next. The storyline was cool too, unique, kind of in a sci-fi way, and I'm just loving this era of Nick Cage's career. We are indeed living in the era of Nick Cage, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So this gets a 7 out of 10 for me. Cheers, guys.